Good evening. Welcome to the April 12th, 2021 Westerville City Schools Board of Education meeting. To connect and view this evening's meeting, you can go to WCSOH.org/virtual BOE, and you'll be able to watch this evening's meeting via a YouTube live stream. Though providing an opportunity for public comment during school board meetings is not a requirement, the Westerville City School District Board of Education believes it is an important part of its engagement with and accountability to the community. As part of our mitigation efforts to slow the spread of the coronavirus, and in a spirit of maintaining an opportunity for our public to participate in these virtual school board meetings, we are offering interested persons an opportunity to submit written public comment. During a typical Westerville City School District Board of Education meeting, there are two opportunities for individuals to address the board. While functioning under this virtual meeting environment, the opportunity to submit public comment will open when the meeting begins at approximately 6 p.m. and close shortly after each public comment section is reached on the agenda. Per board policy 0169.1, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes in duration. When submitting your comments through the provided forms, we ask you to please keep your comments professional, avoid the use of inappropriate language, and refrain from identifying individuals by name in the event of a complaint. And you may use the links provided on the board's on the district website. All comments submitted become a matter of public record and are subject to release under Ohio law and the Freedom of Information Act. As with in-person public comments made during a traditional school board meeting, members reserve the right to respond immediately or withhold comment in order to conduct appropriate research and follow up with the speaker at a later time. Thank you in advance for your understanding and cooperation. Our meeting is now called to order. Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman.
Here.
Mrs. Davidson.
Here.
Mr. Velardo.
Here.
Dr. Nestor Baker.
Here.
Mr. Bell.
Here. Agenda item 3.01, would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 4.01, temporarily suspend board policy PO 0169.1, public participation at Board of Education meetings. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker.
Yes.
Mrs. Altman.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo.
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Agenda items 5.01, district highlights and recognitions. Westerville Central High School boys basketball, Division I state runner-up. Mr. Velardo, would you talk to us about this, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Bell. We have two really exciting recognitions tonight. The first one, as you indicated, is to honor and recognize the Westerville Central High School boys basketball Division I state runners-up. And at this time, I will be reading a resolution in just a moment, but at this time, I'd like to introduce Andy I, who is the athletic director at Westerville Central, and he will in turn be introducing the coach to say a few words. Mr. I.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the Board of Education and the District Administration for having us part of this celebration tonight. Appreciate the recognition of the 2020-21 basketball team. It was a great season for us. It was a great season for these kids and their coaches and their families. Perseverance was a key word to get through the season. We had a successful season. We had a sustained season. So very, very much very happy with how things went for our basketball team this year. The players and coaches did everything they could throughout the season to make sure that we stayed healthy and safe so that we could complete our season, and we did that successfully. They represented our school and our community very well. Our school and community can be very proud of the young men and the coaches. They're also young men too, so compared to me. But it was they all did a great job, and very proud of how they conducted themselves this year and got us through the season with so much success. They deserve this recognition tonight, and they deserve all the other accolades and good things that people are saying about them, both as a team and the individual accolades and awards and scholarships and all the other great things that are happening for our players as individuals as well. So I'm going to introduce our head coach, Mr. Kevin Martin, and he'll be able to tell you a little bit about the team and then introduce all of the players on the team.
Thanks, Mr. I. And thank you to the Board of Education and the Westville City School District, our high school, Mr. Lanier, our principal, everyone that's was involved in some aspect of what we were able to do this year. It was definitely an interesting year from everything that we had to deal with COVID and all those things. But at the end of the day, when we were able to step on the court, it was basketball like it always had been. And it comes down to the group of kids we had. We had 8 seniors who did a tremendous job leading our program, setting a great example for our younger athletes in our program, and really doing everything they could so that we could have the type of season we had. The finality of the season after last year not being able to finish our year was something special for everyone involved. So on behalf of our whole program, our athletic department, our school, we thank you for recognizing this team, because it was definitely a special group, and our coaching staff was very fortunate to be able to coach. So thank you.
Coach, this is Rick Bellardo again. Are you able to, you want to introduce the players? I know not all of them are probably on the line, but you want to go through the players, at least mentioning their name and maybe position? Yes, I will.
First off, we had Tassos Cook, who had a tremendous senior year, player of the year in our league, player of the year in Central Ohio, and a first-team All-State performer. He's undecided with where he's going to college next year, but it'll be somewhere that's going to be very lucky to have him. So, he was one of our captains. MJ Davis was our other captain, another senior going to Otterbein University, staying in town next year, going to play basketball at Otterbein. So, he's going to be very fortunate being a Westville kid playing at Otterbein, because I think he's really going to have a great career there. Landon Tillman was another senior. And Landon was just a warrior for us, and did everything he could each and every day to get us to where we could. Had that shot in the district finals that everyone has heard about and probably seen it in some respects. So Landon was awesome for us. Tyler Sackett was another senior. He came out and did a lot of really good things for us on the court and practice and games. As you move through the season, everyone plays their part. So very fortunate to have Tyler. Donovan Hunter was a sophomore for us. Started for us as a sophomore, has a bright future ahead of him. Very, very fortunate to be able to have someone like Donovan moving forward, representing our program. Brad Leonard is a junior for us. He tore his ACL in July, and we weren't sure if we were going to have him all. Just being the type of kid he is, was able to rehab and get back, and was cleared to play in late January for us, which was a big, which was huge for us going throughout the rest of the year. So just the type of kid he is for him to come back that quickly. Quincy Clark, senior for us. Quincy, was one of our leaders on the court, and he's fortunate enough to be going to play at Lipscomb University next year. So, congratulations to Quincy being able to take that next step for him. Sagar Shaw is one of our juniors. He's going to be returning for us next year as a senior. Mamadi Kaba was another senior for us. Mamadi, again, just the whole dynamic of this group, is a winner and did everything he could. Depending on it didn't matter the amount of minutes he got on a given night. It was a very important player for us down the stretch of the season. Miles Poindexter is a junior for us. He'll be back next year. I look for Miles to have a really, really good senior year. He had an up and down year this year. Some of that out of his control with some things. So looking forward to having him back. Luke Patton was a senior for us. Luke just moved back. He went to middle school with a lot of these kids and on our team and moved out of state, and then was back this year and joined our team for his senior year, and we're fortunate to have him back because he was a heck of a teammate to these guys. Booba Bangura was a sophomore on our varsity roster. Ended up playing a little bit more on the JV level, but he had a great, he has a bright future ahead of him as well. Sam Hood was a junior for us. He'll be back next year. Looking for big things from him. And Will Jados is a kid that, again, someone that came to work every day. Great teammate, and he's going to be going to play football at Miami of Ohio. And hopefully I didn't forget anyone because that was off the top of my head. But Andy, you just speak up if I missed any of those guys. But tremendous group of kids, and I'm a big believer is you don't win like we did this year. You need talent, but you also need great kids, and that's what we had with this group.
Yeah, and that's why we at the Board of Education Administration we are really honored to celebrate you all. And Andy, you unmuted yourself. Are you saying he forgot somebody?
No, he didn't forget anybody, but I just wanted.
You want to show the trophy? All right. That's all.
We'll get the gold one in a couple of years here.
There you go. There you go. You got some solid sophomores and juniors coming back, so that's very exciting. Coach and Andy, I want to read the resolution, and you'll be receiving a copy of this for the school, and each coach and player will receive a certificate. We're going to send that through inter-office email. But let me read the resolution from the Board of Education Administration. Whereas the Westerville Central High School varsity basketball team, coached by Kevin Martin, finished the season with a remarkable record, 23-3. And whereas the Warhawks opened postseason play by defeating 38th seed Mount Vernon 65-42 on February 26th, and then beat 25th seeded Hilliard-Davidson 44-39 on March 3. And whereas Central won their second district championship and Coach Martin earned his 200th career win, conquering Pickerington North 41-39 in the title game on March 6th at Westerville Central High School. And whereas playing in its second regional tournament since 2020, Central defeated Hilliard Bradley 56-44 in a semifinal March 11, and in the regional finals defeated Gahanna Lincoln with an incredible half-court buzzer beater by Tassos Cook 45-44 at South High School to propel the Hawks into the Final Four and school history. And whereas in the Division I state semifinal, March 20, the Warhawk community witnessed another moment of history for the team and school as Central defeated Cleveland St. Ignatius 51-42 at the University of Dayton and were headed into the biggest game of their high school career. And whereas despite a heartbreaking 43-42 loss to Centerville in the Division I boys state title game on March 21 at the University of Dayton, the team played admirably before its adoring Hawks Nest, making the entire Westerville Central High School community proud. Therefore, be it resolved that the Westerville City Schools Board of Education and Superintendent commend the 2020-2021 Westerville Central High School boys basketball team, along with Coach Martin and his assistants, for an exhilarating and historic play, and thank them for representing our district and our community with pride and distinction. And I just want to repeat that last part. Thank them for representing our district and our community with pride and distinction. Coach Martin, you're exactly right. It takes a lot of skill, but it takes some deep character to go as far as your team did. Please let all of them know that we are honored and thrilled. And I think Coach Andy is correct. You may be headed even for some greater things. No pressure, just some greater things even down the road. So a final word to you, Coach. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, if I could, let's just would like to recognize my staff because it's a tireless job that those guys put in, and we couldn't do anything without them. Todd Minnie is one of our assistants, and he's been tremendous for us. And does a little bit of everything. Max Shaver, who is our JV coach, is a graduate of Westerville Central High School. John Devereaux just joined us this year as an assistant. He's a graduate of Westerville Central High School. Jamar Hill is a graduate of Westerville North High School back, the year after I had graduated Westerville North. Jared Link was our freshman coach this year, did a tremendous job. He was new on our staff. And then Alex Cummings, who assists at the freshman level, does a little bit of everything in our program, helping out at every level. So, I'm blessed to have the type of people that put the time in and help develop and mold those relationships with our kids. And they do it for the love of the kids and the love of the game. And I couldn't be more proud of those guys. So I just wanted to make sure I recognize them. So thank you.
Very important. Thank you. Great words. Coach Martin, Mr. I, really thank you all for joining us tonight, and tremendous congratulations to the entire team and staff. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
President Bell, we have a second recognition that I am just really thrilled about as well. I'm going to introduce Tracy King and Liz Washburn. They are co-chairs of our GEM Awards, and they are joining us on the call, and they are not only tremendous co-chairs, but I'd like to say they're actually dear friends. Not only me, certainly this whole board and this community. So, Tracy, Liz, I'm going to let one of the two of you take it away.
Reverend Velardo, President Bell, members of the board, and Dr. Kellogg and Mrs. Marshall. On behalf of my other co-chair, Tracy King, and I, we want to thank you so much for allowing us to share about the GEM Awards this year. For those who are unfamiliar with the GEM Awards, They are the Great Educator and Mentor Awards that are presented each year to those adults who go above and beyond for students in Westerville City Schools. Each building has a GEM winner, along with the district has several GEM winners who make an impact in 2 or more buildings or for the district as a whole. The program also recognizes the impact of a local business who touches the lives of students as well, and that's in our Terry Gordon Business Award. We want to thank our generous sponsor, Roush Honda. For 19 years, they have sponsored the GEM Awards program. They've partnered with Westerville Parent Council to make these awards possible. There's also a few other folks I would like to thank, because without them this year, this definitely would not be possible. Jill McCarran of Roush Honda, Jill Beck of Westerville City Schools, Rachel Kreitz, President of Westerville Parent Council, and all of the GEM building chairs. Thank you so much for the time and dedication to this program. Well, as you're all aware, COVID has changed everything and created lots of obstacles for everyone. The GEM Awards also as well. So Tracy and I put our heads together and worked with several folks to make sure that this program still happened. And much to our delight, not only did it happen, but much to our surprise as well, we had the most nominations of any other year for GEM, over 235 nominations. So thank you to all of those students, staff, and families who took time to nominate someone special. I think this really gives testimony to the important work and the dedication of our staff and volunteers in this district. We're going to celebrate and recognize each GEM winner tonight with a special video. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who, after watching this, will feel very proud and very grateful to be a part of Westerville City Schools. Thank you so much for the time tonight, and I hope you enjoy. And congratulations to all of those 2020-2021 GEM winners. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Rachel Kreitz and I'm president of Westerville Parent Council. On behalf of our board and members, I want to thank each and every one of the volunteers, nominators, and those nominated that helped to make this year successful. The GEM Awards program, also known as Great Educator Mentor Awards, is a collaboration between Westerville Parent Council and our incredible sponsor, Roush Honda of Westerville. GEM was created in 2002 to recognize those who make a difference and go above and beyond in the lives of students at each school in the Westerville City School District. District awards are also given to those who impact students across the school district as a whole or in more than one building. Additionally, Westerville Parent Council, along with Roush, is proud to present the Terry Gordon Business Award. Terry Gordon was the Director of Public Relations for Roush Honda, and his efforts started our GEM partnership. We honor Terry Gordon and the legacy he created by recognizing the significant impact of the support of local businesses on our school district. This year, we received hundreds of incredible nominations. More than ever, during this remarkable time in history, we were reminded of the unbelievable things people in our community are doing for students and our district. We were absolutely blown away and thank each and every one of those who made a difference in so many creative, thoughtful, and inspiring ways. Congratulations to the winners, and thank you to all of you for your incredible impact on our community.
From Elkhart Elementary, 2021 GEM Lisa Winter. Lisa was proudly nominated by colleagues, parents, and students alike. One student noted that Ms. Winters always remembers our names and who we are, even though she is a substitute teacher, hence giving the student the warm feeling of being seen and recognized by her, a very necessary and viable quality every year, but perhaps even more critical this year. Ms. Winter wears many hats for Elkhart, from substitute teacher to PTA board member to parent council representative. always ensuring the students and families have a seat at the table and are aware of the many opportunities and resources available to them. For this unusual period, she has transitioned to a virtual student success coach, dedicated to offering the breadth and depth of her talents to ensure a continuation of support to these fantastic families. As one colleague said, Lisa Winter embodies the best of education. Way to go, Lisa. Amherst Elementary 2021 gem, Heather Harris. Heather was nominated by an Amherst parent. Since the PTA and other volunteers have been limited in their abilities to enter the building, the parent notes, Heather has been our internal help with the PTA. She's gone above and beyond to help the families, students, and staff, delivering messages to staff members. Heather makes copies of important information from the PTA and makes sure it gets delivered on time. The parent goes on to say that Heather is always willing to help. Thanks for making such an impact, Heather. From Charrington Elementary 2021 gem, Marcia Seifker. Marcia was nominated by her colleagues. As the school counselor, the weight has been especially heavy this year, but Marcia's upbeat, let's do it attitude is so encouraging and motivating, reminding her colleagues of their purpose. She is always available as a shoulder upon which to learn, the ear to listen, and the voice to cheer them on. Her impact isn't simply felt by the staff. Marcia has deeply made a difference to the families of Charrington. She has delivered food and supplies to students and families and met with students to discuss challenging issues that they might be dealing with daily, like anxiety, depression, and feeling lost. She is truly invested in their emotional and social well-being. As one of her colleagues stated, Marcia is a gift to Charrington and is a true gem. From the Early Learning Center Preschool 2021 gem, Jill McKinley. Jill spreads her magic to the students at the school, always providing decorations and encouraging dress-up days, providing welcoming words to the students as they arrive, and drying any tears and calming anxieties throughout the day. The colleague made note of the fact that Jill will go out to the lined-up buses full of children, blowing bubbles to make sure the kids go home with a smile on their face. What a positive way to end everyone's day. Thanks for being awesome, Jill. From Emerson Magnet 2021 gem, Shannon Gobler. Shannon was nominated by a student and parent. Both talked about concerns that they had when the pandemic hit and virtual learning had to be the mode of operation. The student was anxious about the lack of getting to know his classmates. Shannon eased the students' minds about the uncertainty that the pandemic provided. Ms. Gobler has exceeded all of my expectations. She has kept the students engaged with meaningful and challenging work, introducing and exploring high-interest new concepts. Her communication and partnership with parents truly sets her apart from many other outstanding teachers. Thanks for making a difference, Shannon. From Faust Elementary 2021 gem, Stephanie Saar. Stephanie was nominated by a parent who shared. She sets the precedent of us all being in this together. A kindergarten teacher, Stephanie's positivity has kept the young ones motivated and engaged. Her nominator goes on to say, not only does she make herself available regularly to parents and students, but she also works hard to ensure that the process is as organic as possible to continue with a positive learning environment. She takes the time to record all lessons so that her students have the opportunity to see the lesson, and as her nominator points out, the kids are not just set free on the parents. You are most certainly a gem, Stephanie. From Hanby Magnet 2021 gem, Megan Ann Hedges. Nominated by parents, it is noted that Megan assesses students' needs and adjusts her teaching style to provide the best opportunity possible for her kids. Very aware that each child is unique, she's known for reaching out to her students on a very personal level as she gains their trust, a truly magical quality to have, especially this year. Not only has she gained the trust of her students, she has earned the confidence of the families. She listens to the parents' concerns and suggestions, making them a part of the students' whole teaching team. It's been pointed out that her kindness has a way of coming through the computer screen, even making younger siblings feel comfortable enough to want to join the lessons. Hanby is so proud to have you as their shining gem, Megan. From Hawthorne Elementary 2021 gem, Jenny Shear. Jenny was nominated by her colleagues who shared. She gives so much of her heart and soul to the staff, students, and families of Hawthorne. From home visits to delivering food and supplies for the school community, Jenny makes sure that families and students have the resources and connections for success. She works far beyond the typical day to provide that special touch that is so vital. Jenny is the heart of the creation of school community events such as the Community Parade. She has taken the results of school surveys and grouped the students based on their answers, thus tailoring how she can best be of help. As one colleague put it, she goes above and beyond every day for our students. Hawthorne absolutely would not be successful without her instrumental presence. Thanks for being Hawthorne's shining gem, Jenny. From Huber Ridge Elementary 2021 gem, Deb Seckel. Deb was nominated by a colleague. Her nominator tells of the timeline of progression of the pandemic and the needs uncovered in each stage. In August, Deb was selected to be a student success coach, fulfilling the needs of both blended and remote learning students, having many courageous conversations with students and families to keep them engaged and motivated, checking in and providing support, encouragement, and tools for success. Through it all, Deb has maintained her positive energy, a student-centered focus, and has been completely committed to providing a sense of normalcy in these highly unusual times. As her nominator said, Deb has been dependable during these unpredictable times. Congratulations, Deb, and thank you. Longfellow Elementary 2021 gem, Kate Harris. Kate was nominated by her peers as well as a parent. She has been the smiling face of Longfellow as she can be seen each morning and afternoon cheerfully assisting students in and out of their cars. She knows the families by name, further easing the transition to school for some anxious students. She's always there with her calm, quiet demeanor, encouraging both the parents and students with her gentle words. She has provided the key extra attention that has been necessary for some students to learn remotely. Kate has made a point to check in with students who are struggling with the change in routine and challenging schedules. That extra attention fills in the gaps and fosters the healthy connections between students and teachers. As her nominator aptly pointed out, this world would be a better place if we had more Kates. Congratulations. From Mark Twain Elementary 2021 gem, Kelly Knapp. Kelly was nominated by a group of her colleagues who are quick to point out that the attendance secretary is just one of the many duties she takes on at Mark Twain. Kelly has made it her personal responsibility to connect with all the students. During remote learning, she frequently called students who are not engaged, approaching them with an attitude of concern and empathy rather than judgmental scolding. Because of these efforts, the students feel positive support and encouragement. Not only do the students feel her magic, the teachers feel the support as well. She helps the teachers in any way she can, whether that is by helping make copies and assemble home bags for the teachers to send home to the students, or organizing resources for home delivery of food and supplies. Many times she is executing these deliveries. As one colleague stated, Kelly shares a passion with staff and invested in every child. She loves to hear the success stories and helps out in creating the success. We love to hear the stories of how you make a difference, Kelly. Truly a gem. From McVeigh Elementary 2021 gem, Michael McLean. Michael was nominated by several McVeigh families, known to be a creative guide using unconventional methods to incorporate the students' interest in his one-on-one lessons. Since some of his students are enrolled in WBA, as well as some that are navigating the uncertainties that this year has brought, Michael makes himself available to students who are struggling learning concepts. As one parent noted, "My kids say they love him because he's nice, funny, and understands kids. Meeting with Michael makes learning interesting and a delight." Another stated, "He shows up to lessons every day with so much love, individualized attention, and positivity." Congratulations, Michael. From Point View Elementary 2021 gem, Alexander Chapman. Nominated by a colleague, Alex has jumped right in his first year at the school to make a positive impact. As part of the school's events action team, he's helped to plan and execute the limited classroom parties and activities, finding inclusive ways to involve all students. As his peer noted, a year where everything has to be done differently. Alex knows that the young kids need to be active and plans activities that get them moving and having fun. He applied for and received a grant allowing the purchase of exercise balls to also be used as drums, much to the children's delight. He is active in the school's Leader in Me action team and the equity team, as well as attending every meeting for the school's PTA. Alex colleague says, "I feel very fortunate to have him as part of our Point View team and a role model for our students." We're thankful as well, Alex. From Robert Frost Elementary 2021 gem, Vicki Faust. Vicki was nominated by a parent. She encourages students to improve their reading in a number of ways, whether they are in the school or remote for the week. She takes a vested interest in their growth, providing helpful tips to the family. She ensures that the students have the literature and encourages the students to seek out topics of interest. Vicki has created a virtual space in her Google Classroom for the students to explore their downtime and weekends, with some of the students' siblings joining in on the activity. This builds excitement about reading. As the parent goes on to explain, I always tell my daughter that reading opens up worlds you didn't know existed, and Miss Faust is giving her the key to those other worlds. We couldn't agree more. Thanks for sharing the keys, Vicki. From Whittier Elementary 2021 gem, Angela Faust. Angela was nominated by a student and their family who shared she is extremely encouraging to the students as they navigate the challenges that the pandemic presented. When the school went to remote learning, Angela made sure that she contacted the students and families, giving them the support and connection they needed. She's known to follow up with students as they progress through Whittier. She checked up with this one particular family and frequently texted with the parent, making sure everything was fine with both the family and student. When the student hit a pretty important milestone, she sent the student a card with motivating words of congratulations. As the parent noted, "My son will always be a student of Miss Faust for life, and that is a gift I never saw coming. I'm so happy she was brought into our lives. Way to make a difference, Angela. A gem indeed." From Wilder Elementary 2021 gem, Elizabeth Wolfgang. Elizabeth was nominated by a colleague. She has stretched her services during this pandemic to include many virtual experiences to support student socialization for both WVA and remote learning weeks. One example of this leadership is in the creation of the Wilder Trailblazer Student Leadership Group. In addition, Elizabeth has led the way for Wilder's equity team and includes parent representation. Because she is so well respected by her peers, she has been able to make inroads in building safe, trusting spaces for reflection on the subject of equity and paths to change going forward. Congratulations on being chosen as Wilder's gem, Elizabeth. You make a huge positive impact. From Blendon Middle School 2021 gem, Meg Miller. Miss Miller had multiple GEM nominations. She's a parent in the district, active PTO member, preferred substitute at Blendon, and this year has met the challenge of a new role as a student success coach flawlessly. Staff in the building says she has gone above and beyond her role this year by jumping in and helping other staff. One example is her help to the office staff creating multiple documents for record keeping, making it easier to connect with every student. Her nomination states, she has made it possible for staff and students alike to more easily navigate the treacherous waters of this 2020 pandemic year. Meg makes her students feel known, valued, and appreciated. She engages students in fun Google Meets where students socialize and connect. She is an inspirational cheerleader who celebrates each student and their accomplishments. One parent says, "I don't think we could have done it without her." Congratulations, Meg. From Genoa Middle School 2021 gem, Jamie Yater. A student took the time to make sure everyone knows Mrs. Yater is a teacher who is not only kind, helpful, and understanding, but never gives up on students, taking the time to make sure a student understands. She makes math fun by playing games that teach a concept. She uses various methods to make sure to teach to each student's learning style. It's obvious that Ms. Yater takes the time to care and learn about each of her students while making learning fun. The student mentions, "Every day I would look forward to going to her classroom just to be with her. Thank you for being a bright, shining gem, Mrs. Yater." From Heritage Middle School 2021 gem, Sarah Crux. She received nominations from a parent and a student. They shared that she makes sure to learn something about each of her students and connect with them about what's important to them. Because Mrs. Crux takes time to get to know students and make them feel supported, she inspires them to learn, and it creates excitement for them to be in her class. Throughout the year, Mrs. Crux has been there for our son to set his mind at ease, to show interest, and that is what he needed to push himself academically to do his best and then some. During the pandemic, Mrs. Crux began her Google Meets by asking questions that students wanted to participate in, all because she wanted to make sure to hear how they were doing. She made sure each student knew there was someone who cared about them. Thank you, Mrs. Crux, for being a true gem. From Walnut Springs Middle School 2021 gem, Geneva Tran. Geneva was nominated by a student and a parent. The student shared, Mrs. Tran is always happy to see you and helps students find the perfect book or resources for a project. She brings a positive school and library experience, and in the students' words, her activities and book clubs have made reading much more fun. She not only goes the extra mile to gain insights on the students' interests, she works with staff to enhance lessons with library resources. She regularly attends PTSA meetings and compiled a list of businesses owned by Walnut Springs family so that Walnut Springs could support each other during this pandemic. Walnut Springs is proud to call Geneva Tran their gem. From Westerville Central High School 2021 gem, Erica Geis. Erica was nominated by a parent who felt so supported this year after their child had a recent diagnosis that made remote learning even more challenging. Mrs. Geis was positive and supportive. She was helpful and caring and continued to check in with the parent and student throughout the entire year, making sure the student was supported inside and out of the classroom. At times, Ms. Geis even brought in some of the students' teachers to the meeting to put plans in place for success. As the nomination mentions, Ms. Geis is one of the bright spots in a chaotic year. You are truly a gem. From Westerville North High School 2021 gem, Sarah Loney. A band parent nominated Miss Loney for her hard work and dedication to the band program. Miss Loney's efforts went above and beyond to make sure the marching band students could celebrate last year's seniors and have a season this fall. When school shut down last spring, Miss Loney made cards for each student to offer encouragement and support. She also arranged for her staff to go to each senior's house to play the fight song in pomp and circumstance, to drop off senior awards and other congratulations. This fall, Miss Loney took the safety protocols very seriously and immediately set the tone for students in the program to understand the expectations and guidelines for participation. Despite the disappointments of the season that included a canceled trip to Disney and no contests this season, Miss Loney made sure the band stayed connected, encouraged the students' personal growth, and created meaningful experiences, including a special senior show, virtual concerts, and virtual competitions. Miss Loney has made such a positive impact on Westerville North band students. It's no wonder the program has grown over 30% in the 2 short years she has been there. Thank you for being a sparkling gem, Miss Loney. From Westerville South High School 2021 gem, Candace Bartlett. A student nominated Miss Bartlett for her devotion and care she gives to every student in her classroom, even during summer school when she wasn't teaching her. Whether a student has an academic need or a personal emotional need, Miss Bartlett has a listening ear and is a source of consistent support. In a year that has brought many challenges and more stress to students, it is wonderful to know Miss Bartlett is there for students at Westerville South. You are a shining gem. The following 5 District Gem recipients were selected for their dedication and positive contributions to 2 or more buildings in our fantastic school district, or for their impact on the district as a whole. They have made such a difference in so many ways for our families, our teachers and staffs, and most importantly, our students. We're so proud to present our District Gems. Our first district gem is Amy Anglin, a teacher who has made a direct impact on potentially vulnerable students who need to earn recovery credit at Educational Options for Success. She treats these young adults with compassion, creativity, and thoughtfulness, encouraging them to do the necessary coursework to graduate. This task was made more difficult when the pandemic hit, and she had to teach them in a remote manner. Yet Amy was able to continue to motivate these students to earn the necessary class credit for their sheepskin. Amy also serves as a volunteer WBA unofficial liaison for students and staff across the district, working hours on top of her already challenging teaching job. She's created training videos for WBA staff using Apex, many of whom had no experience with the Apex system. She fielded hundreds of emails from frantic teachers, and Amy handled them with patience and grace, calmly troubleshooting to solve their problems. We are so grateful to count Amy as one of our district gems this year. As her nominator pointed out, Amy is definitely a gem that shines brightly in our district. Our next district gem is Mary Lou Hiddle. Mary Lou was nominated by a group of parents who know firsthand the countless hours of advocacy and research she has done to bring to light the needs of dyslexic children in our district. She is a tireless advocate who promotes the parent advocacy group Reading Matters Westerville at Fourth Fridays, resource fairs, and parent group meetings. Mary Lou is such an invaluable resource that parents often refer other parents to talk with her when they receive a recent diagnosis. She has a listening ear, shares many resources, and provides community to those students and families at a time when they feel alone. One of Mary Lou's most notable accomplishments from this school year was in September of 2020. She was asked to represent Reading Matters Westerville and testify before the Ohio Senate Education Committee regarding House Bill 436. Her testimony, along with other advocacy groups, paved the way for this important legislation to be signed into law this year, providing funding and mandatory screening and intervention for children with dyslexia. Westerville students will be impacted for many years to come because of Mary Lou Hiddle's dedication and advocacy work. Thank you for shining your light bright as a gem, Mary Lou Hiddle. We are proud to present our next district gem, Michelle Janney. Michelle is a volunteer throughout district buildings and with district programs. She has continued to offer her volunteer services, making the theater arts programs her focus. One of the beneficiaries of her talents and dedication is the Blendon Middle School program, where she co-directed this spring musical, The Music Man Jr., in 2020. She never missed a rehearsal, committed to providing the middle schoolers a quality theater experience. Michelle is highly invested in Westerville South's Troop 513 Theater Boosters. She organized the grab-and-go snacks and meals for cast and crew for the school's September production, making the pivot necessary to comply for COVID safety. In October, she successfully executed the troop's drive-through fundraiser, another huge undertaking. Michelle coordinated from start to finish with the troop raising over $1,000. Her nominators say that apparently she only knows how to go above and beyond. We concur. Thank you for all you do, Michelle. Our next GEM recipient is Lee Rutherford. Lee has been a tireless advocate for equity for Westerville students. She was one of the coordinators for the district's first African American read-in held at Blendon in February of 2020. This event was a fantastic and engaging way to introduce the community members, families, and students across the district to African American literature. Lee helped organize the Educators for Black Lives Matter rally in the summer of 2020, raising awareness about the racism students of color in the district experience, showing the students that their voices and experiences matter. Mrs. Rutherford is dedicated to ensuring that all students have access to an equitable educational experience and are exposed to the beauty and diversity of the human experience, says one of her nominators. Congratulations for making a difference, and thank you, Lee. Our final district gem is Dr. Tanya Salisbury. Tanya has been a master at switching gears this year, as pivoting has been the name of the game. Before she could even roll out her new ELA pacing guide, the governor declared that schools must close due to the pandemic. She quickly changed her focus to finding safe resources and communicating these to staff so that they could resume virtual contact with their students. She was well on her way to her work with both the hybrid and the WVA team when the decision was made to move away from the program being used for WVA. Switching gears yet again, Dr. Salisbury created resources, pacing guides, and weekly lesson plans. She has accomplished this and more, far exceeding what was ever expected. As her nominator points out, Dr. Salisbury has been an invaluable support and inspiration for so many as we navigate these territories. She's always willing to go the extra mile for our Westerville community. Congratulations, Tanya. As Rachel explained in the introduction, every year we have the pleasure of awarding the Terry Gordon Business Award, named after the leader at Roush who started this fantastic collaboration. Businesses who have been recognized have significantly made a contribution to the well-being of our academic community, fortifying and enhancing our phenomenal district. This year, we have the sincere honor of announcing that Birdie Books and Cafe is the recipient of the 2021 Terry Gordon Business Award. Birdie Books, owned by Ms. Sherry Russell, has made such an impact in our community this year, in particular for their contribution with the collaboration with the Westerville Education Foundation and Westerville Partners for Education's The Many Voices Diverse Classroom Library Project. Birdie Books was approached about the Many Voices project even before opening their doors, and Ms. Russell was all in. She made adjustments to her social media outreach to include a Many Voices tab, creating links to over 1,500 books that have been selected for the Many Voices collection. Diving even further into the project, she offered starter kit links where the educators could peruse the grade level appropriate books. As if this wasn't enough, these books were then offered at a generous and substantial discount to the teachers, thus allowing the teachers to increase the number of books purchased by their allotted project funding for their classroom libraries and provide an incredible array of diverse reading options to their students. Thank you, Ms. Russell and Birdie Books and Cafe for making such a difference to all our students and our community. You are truly a gem.
Wow and wow. What a blessing it is to have so many people give so much, so above and beyond to this district. I simply can't add any more to those GEM Award winners. I do want to say a big thank you to Tracy King and Liz Washburn for just doing above and beyond your work in this, let's call it an unusual year. I want to honor Rachel Kreitz as well as president of Westerville Parent Council, an organization that does above and beyond year after year after year. Thank you all for joining us for this recognition. We know that it takes time, but there is nothing that we would rather do than to honor these people who give so very much to this district. President Bell, I think that there is nothing more to be said other than to say thank you to all of the work that's being done. And thank you for allowing me to honor these folks.
Thank you, Mr. Villardo. And again, congratulations to all of the winners and also to the boys basketball team at Westerville Central. Before we move on, we need to vote to approve the resolution that's being presented to the team, the coaching staff, and the staff. So may I have a motion and a second?
So moved. So seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Nestor-Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Villardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Agenda item 6.01, approve the minutes of the Board of Education meeting held on Monday, March the 22nd of 2021 as presented. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Any questions, discussion, additions, corrections? Hearing none, Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Villardo,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor-Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Agenda item 7.01, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Kellogg, would you please share with us this evening?
Glad to. Thank you, President Bell and members of the board, allowing me a few minutes this evening to give you an update on where we are. I want to talk mostly, as we've done throughout the year, a little bit about where we are with the pandemic and its impact on schools and how operations are going. I want to do that in the context of understanding that right now there's a lot of focus and attention to the increase in numbers, particularly in some specific states. Just the state up north would be one of those that we read about, but even locally. And we continue to monitor those numbers on a local level on a regular basis and recognize that as we're seeing concern with the new variants in particular has created, again, concern as it relates to the pandemic. I can't tell folks at this point that, and I know we're coming off of our spring break and that week off may impact our numbers to some degree as we move forward, but as it stands right now, we're in great position as it relates to our numbers, both in terms of our specific numbers to our students and staff, low numbers of positive cases, our quarantines, which will always be a challenge, are actually down from where they were before spring break. So within the school setting itself, our numbers are very good. Outside of our school, when we go to our attendance boundary, our numbers are still lower than what we see in Franklin County overall, but they kind of parallel Franklin County. So some numbers, for example, Franklin County case rates that I checked this morning were running at about 200 per 100,000, which is up, but nowhere near some of the numbers we saw a few months ago. The fact that it's increasing is a concern. We want to keep an eye on that. I would share that part of the piece we're seeing is that the vaccine for our staff is being effective as being another mitigation strategy. And so we're not seeing large numbers of staff out, large numbers of students out, numbers overall good. I do want to provide a shout out, and for folks who didn't know, very quickly, in fact, in the days leading up to spring break, I got a call for doing a partnership with Nationwide Children's Hospital. Want to shout out to them for providing an opportunity for us to run a clinic for 16 through 18-year-olds. And that came together really quickly. As I said, probably the Wednesday going into spring break is when I first got a call, and as we closed our doors for spring break, our planning behind the scenes all took place. And last Friday and today, we provided vaccines to over 800 16 through 18-year-olds in the school district got their first dose those 2 days. That is the same in several other school districts in the greater Franklin County area, not just us. So we appreciate that partnership. To all of our students and their families that agreed to participate, thank you very much. It does add another layer of defense for everybody, and we think that's a good thing. And a particular shout out to Scott Dorn and his team for pulling the logistics of that together. We actually were transporting students from their high schools to Central, which was where we had the vaccine center, throughout the day on Friday and Monday. That can be very disruptive for a lot of reasons, but it went swimmingly well. Friday morning, I stopped in at Central, and I can tell you the kids were phenomenal. Their attention to detail, doing whatever was asked of them, just phenomenal. We really appreciate that. And then a real specific shout out to the staff at Central, particularly the front office staff, the support staff there, Mr. Leonier and his team, and Coach I and his team. They just took the heavy load. A lot of phone calls in, trying to reschedule, change schedules, questions. They managed it like troopers, and it was a lot behind the scenes to make it run that smoothly. So to Nationwide Children's Hospital and all the people in our organization that made this happen, to the families that agreed to do this, a great amount of thanks for getting that done. Second dose to come, so we're excited about that. So, short note, we know there's concerns with increases. We continue to monitor on a daily basis. Things are going well within the school district as we continue our mitigation strategies, and are now seeing the value of our team being vaccinated. So we feel pretty good there. I do want to make this announcement in regard to any opportunity for replicating the Westerville Virtual Academy that we had this year. So I want to state at this time that we have no intention of providing an open enrollment Westerville Virtual Academy like we did this year. There's been a lot of discussion at the legislative level. Frankly, to date, legislators haven't taken action to allow for that. There are other mechanisms by which you can do that. We've had significant conversation, regardless of what the legislators do as it stands at this time, unless circumstances are handed to us differently. We do not intend on having a full open enrollment where people chose to go virtual at the start of next year. I do want to acknowledge that we recognize that there may be students and families whose medical conditions, physical or mental, may require us to work with them differently. We have mechanisms in place for doing that. We've done that for years with medically fragile children. We will continue to communicate with those families and do what we need to meet their needs if those indeed are impacted by COVID or any other circumstances as we move forward. We do think that the vaccination program in Ohio, which has gone very, very well, its role in our school district, any expectations regarding mitigation strategies going into next year have proven to be effective for us as we've been full in for these several weeks. So physical distancing, masks, cleaning protocol, all those components are working for us now. We would anticipate them working for us in the future. So just want to put that out there. We'll continue that communication with our families about what that means for them. And we will always remain open to working with families that have needs that require us to look at their educational programs slightly differently. So that's where we're at in terms of COVID and the pandemic was several weeks ago. Good news is Graduation plans, I believe communication went out last night and today, so we're continuing with graduation plans. There are, I won't call them prom or prom light events, but there are plans for nice activities at each of the 3 high schools on the same night. I think it's May 7th or May 8th, I've forgotten the date, one of those dates, that all 3 high schools are hosting an event to replace prom going in the spring. So still lots of planning and things going on. Was pleased last week, yes, to have the Kiwanis organization have a version of their recognition for our seniors, and we'll replicate that at our other 2 high schools. So we continue to be creative and look for ways this spring to make sure that our students and our staff get recognized, as you saw with GEM Awards. So we're trying to make it as close to normal as possible as we close out the school year and look forward to planning for next school year. So happy to answer any questions if the board has any at this time.
If I could, this might really be more of a request for something in the future rather than a question for right now. But Dr. Kellogg, I was just hoping that as we move forward, thinking about the virtual academy and things that we've learned through it, right? Because obviously, like going along and now, and then when the year wraps up, we'll be analyzing what happened, how things went, what things we might pull from that moving forward. I would love for us to be really sort of intentional about talking about the pieces of that maybe are going to inform how kids will be learning in the future. If there are specific parts that we can pull out, that would be great.
That's already on the docket as work we're doing. And in a sketched out time frame in my head, looking at early fall to bring back to the board some thoughts about what we've learned, what might be the role of virtual remote instruction in our district for kids in the future. What might that look like? I think there is a role for it that can be effective, and how can we do that in a meaningful way for our students, aside from once in a lifetime pandemics is what we're going to call it. And there are things we're learning, and not just in terms of the idea of a student being 100% remote, portions of their education or portions of a lesson. There's a lot that we've learned from this that I think can be capitalized on. So we have that in the works, and we'll anticipate working with the board and sharing that with the community in the fall.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Kellogg. Moving on to agenda item 8.01, public comments. There are no public comments that have been submitted. Agenda item 9.01, district credit card spending rebate report. Ms. Marshall, would you please share with us about this?
Yes, thank you, President Bell, members of the board. So our board policy 6423, use of credit cards, requires that I annually report to the board the amount of our district credit card spend and rebate. So for calendar year 2020, we spent a total of $507,668.57 on credit cards. So the majority of that was our Bureau of Workers' Compensation payment. And then we also, other things that we're not able to write a check for, but we have to have some online vendors that require we pay by credit card. So that's what we use our district credit cards for. And our total rebate was 1.1% or $5,584.35. Is there any questions about that?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marshall. Moving on to agenda item number 10, the personnel consent agenda. What I'd like to do is to have us consider 10.01 through 10.11 with the exception of 10.07, and we will have a separate vote for that agenda item. So may I have a motion and a second for the personnel consent agenda with the exception of 10.07?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Marshall, would you, oh, no, Mr. Massey. No, Ms. Marshall, we need to vote. Oh, the report first.
I'm fine with how it's going now.
Mr. Massey, would you please share with us about the personnel consent agenda?
Well, thank you, President Bell, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall, good evening. I'd like to present to you for your consideration the personnel consent agenda as you spoke with pulling out of the item. The items contained within, for the most part, are accomplished during the normal course of business. However, some items I believe do need highlighted. We do have a retirement to celebrate. Keith Arnold from Walnut Springs Middle School, who served the district for 19 years. So please join me in thanking him for his service to the staff and community and students of the Westerville City Schools. You'll also see position changes for Cynthia DeVise and Kaylee Nestor Baker. This is another part of the district reorganization plan that started several months ago that you've been updated on as it's unfolded. One-time payments for opportunities for our staff to have a positive impact on our student body. And an MOU you'll see in there too for cafeteria recess aides that were part of a board update. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Massey. Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. And now, consent agenda item 10.07. Mr. Massey, would you share with us about this one? Or, no, you mentioned that one in your previous report. Anything to add?
No, again, just part of our reorganization plan, and I believe probably pulled out for the necessity of Dr. Nancy Nestor Baker.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Oh, we didn't move yet. May we have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
It's going downhill real fast. Okay, Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Abstain.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11, old business. We have several policies that are final readings that we will vote on. Agenda item 11.01, final reading for policy 1662, Title 7, anti-harassment. Mr. Massey, anything to, or may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Okay, so any discussion, final reading? Hearing none. Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.02, final reading for policy 3362, Title 7, anti-harassment. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.03, final reading for policy 4362, Title VII, anti-harassment. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.04, final reading for policy 5517, anti-harassment. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.05, final reading for policy 8510, wellness. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.06, final reading for policy 8330, student records. May I please have a motion and a second?
So
So-
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.07, final reading for policy 8500, food services. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.08, final reading for K-5 materials, course of study. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 11.09, final reading for the 2022-2023 academic calendar. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Moving on to agenda item 12, which is new business. Several policies where this will be the first reading. Agenda item 12.01. Mr. Matt, would you please share with us about this?
Yes, thank you, President Bell. Again, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall. I'd like to actually combine 1422, 3122, and 4122. They're the same policy as far as the description of non-discrimination, equal employment opportunity. The difference being that one is administration, one is for licensed personnel, and one is for classified personnel. And again, just clarifying the general policy statements that include an update to the language and definitions by which we use the terminology, and clarifies the roles and responsibilities of the Westerville City Schools staff.
Any questions? Okay. And Mr. Mazzi, you're up again for policy 1623.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Policy 1623, 3123, and 4123, again, would like to combine those for, again, the reasoning being that they reflect the same type of terminology, just broken down again by administration, licensed personnel, teaching staff, and then classified staff. Again, clarifying roles and responsibilities and updated language and terminology that is currently used.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Mazzi.
Thank you.
Agenda item 12.07, first reading for policy 7440.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring. Dr. Hopkins, would you like to share about this with us, please?
Yes, good evening, President Bell, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall. Due to the significant increase in the use of virtual/online learning, this policy is being suggested for revision to allow a district to use pre-recorded lessons or observations of online or virtual learning sessions as part of an employee's evaluation, in accordance, of course, with the collective bargaining agreement or memorandum of understanding approved by the board. These revisions are provided to enable the expanded use of technology monitoring for appropriate purposes. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Hopkins? All right. Thank you, Dr. Hopkins. Let's see here. Agenda item 12.08, first reading for policy 9141, Business Advisory Committee to the board. Dr. Kellogg, would you share with us about this, please?
Thank you, President Bell. My pleasure to do so. I also have Ann Baldwin on the line with us this evening, who has been key person in terms of leading our Business Advisory Committee. As the board may recall, back in, I think it was 2018, the state required every school district in Ohio to have a policy calling for a Business Advisory Committee to the board. The purpose of that committee was to provide advice to the school district in regards to employability skills and curriculum related to fields of employment. At the time that the legislation came through, school districts had two paths. One was to run a local business advisory council. The other one was to partner with your ESC and be a member of a regional partnership through the ESC with other school districts. At the time of implementation, since it was new to us and we knew this was an area we want to do good work in, we have great relationships with our chamber and many of our local businesses. We opted for the local option, and Ann Baldwin has done a spectacular job of bringing together some committee members from our area to serve in that capacity. And we've been working, got stymied a little bit this year with COVID, but we've gotten some work done. We're an exciting space. But what we've also seen is that the work of the ESC's Business Advisory Council has a more regional and robust kind of presence and offers additional opportunities for us if we join that membership. So we are recommending this evening that we modify our current BAC policy to allow for us to be a partner member with the ESC, but at the same time, we have every intention of maintaining our local BAC to continue our partnership on a local level. So we're going to kind of double dip in here to continue our work moving forward. We think we have good work going on locally. We want to continue to capitalize on, and we see a lot of consistency between the work we're doing and what's going on with the BAC. So Ms. Baldwin and I would recommend that we modify the policy in order to create more opportunities for us as a school district. Happy to answer any questions or bring Ann into the conversation if you have questions for her.
Any questions?
I would just quickly add, President Bell, that the board may recall that I've been the representative for the board on the Business Advisory Council, and I concur with Dr. Kellogg that what Ann Baldwin has done and Dr. Kellogg and that group, some really solid discussions, some great local organizations that are involved, and I would fully support us expanding that role with the ESC unit as well. Just wanted to put that out there. It's an important linkage into the community and into then now in throughout Central Ohio. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend Filardo. Thank you, Dr. Kellogg and Ms. Baldwin.
Can I ask one quick question real fast? Dr. Kellogg, could you just briefly say how we'll interface? So Ms. Baldwin has been, working with the local BAC and the ESD BAC, like who will be the contact, and just sort of logistically how that will work.
I would envision Ann Baldwin will continue to be our representative to the EST group. She, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, but you've been attending as just kind of an observer, and we continue to get information from that. Is that correct, Ann?
Yes. Good evening. Yes, I actually attend all of the ESC back meetings, or if I can't, I catch the recording after to make sure that the work that we're doing is leveraging the regional approach and expertise that that group is able to connect with.
Great.
So I anticipate remaining on that, remaining a member there and bringing that information back to even strengthen the partnerships that we have at the local level.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm glad you're involved in both because I know what a great job you do, so appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 13, recommended and standing action and standing business. Agenda item 13.01, a resolution approving asbestos abatement work for Phase 3 construction at Westerville South High School. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Marshall, would you share with us about this, please?
Yes, thank you, President Bell, members of the board. So Mr. Dorn and Mr. LaRose are attending Minerva Parks Village Council meeting tonight, so I am reporting for them on this. The asbestos abatement work is in preparation for the third phase of South's construction renovation work and as recommended by our environmental consulting engineer, Gandy and Associates. The majority of the work includes removal of asbestos-containing walls, ceilings, floors, and pipe insulation on the second floor of the school's South Academic Wing. Bids were solicited in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code on March 15th. We received 9 bids in total that were publicly read on April the 1st. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Total Environmental Services in the amount of $156,940. This is approximately $53,000 or 25% under Gandy's estimate of $210,000. The work is scheduled to start on June 14th and be substantially complete by July the 30th. Total Environmental Services was the successful bidder for the Phase 2 abatement work at South and has performed well. It is being recommended that the board accept Total Environmental Services bid for the Phase 3 abatement work.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? Okay, Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Nasty Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Velarde?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 13.02, a resolution authorizing notification to the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission of the execution of storm shelters in the district facility master plan. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hershiser, would you share with us about this, please?
I actually think this one is Dr. Kellogg.
Oh, Dr. Kellogg?
Yes. That way we don't make Mr. Hershiser nervous.
We don't want him nervous.
No. Thank you, President Bell, members of the board. Beginning in November of 2017, the Ohio Building Code required certain buildings, including K-12 schools, to have storm shelters in accordance with the International Building Code. This code applied to any new buildings and proportionally for any addition to a building. Twice now, with June of 2020 being the most recent date, the Ohio General Assembly has allowed a moratorium to exist to comply with this new code if funding for a project was met by a certain time period. The district met this funding requirement for both the Westerville South High School renovations and additions project and the projects that are part of the expedited local partnership program through the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. For these projects, storm shelters were not included in the project budgets. Adding storm shelters would significantly increase project budgets. The new elementary school and the renovation in addition at Amherst Elementary School are underway. The new middle school construction documents are nearly complete. This resolution and the storm shelter district intent form will memorialize that storm shelters will not be included in our projects and allow the OFCC to remove any funding that would have credited the district out of the discrete portion of the amended facilities master plan. It is anticipated that the amended plan will be presented to the board at a May board meeting. It is being recommended that the board approve the resolution to forego the inclusion of storm shelters as part of the district's facility master plan and expedited local partnership program in partnership with the OFCC, and authorize the superintendent and the board president to submit the storm shelter district intent form to the OFCC. Happy to answer any questions. Mr. Dorn, I believe, is still at Minerva Park, so I'll do my best.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Kellogg. Ms. Marshall, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes. Motion carries. Agenda item 14.01, public comments. We have not received any general public comments. Moving on to agenda item 15.01, board comments. Who would like to go first?
I've spoken enough tonight, so let me just briefly, again, the GEM Award winners, just tremendous work out there. Central Boys basketball team, just congratulations to them. And just want to give a big shout out, I know we all do, to Jill Beck, who I'm sure put that video behind the scenes and narrated it, and who knows, she probably played the music that was on there too. So Jill, thank you for all that you have done, and I hope it's okay, President Bell, that I'm sure we all heard the news tonight about the shooting at a school in Tennessee, and that continues to just harm our hearts when things like that occur at all, but certainly in an educational facility. So from me, and I suspect from all of us, certainly our thoughts, our prayers, and our hopes are with those folks who have been impacted by that tonight. Thank you for allowing me to share that as well.
Thank you. Any, well, let's go around. Ms. Altman?
Yeah, thank you. Well, of course, I want to second everything Reverend Velardo said. And I think one of the things this is going to sound really dumb, but one of the things I've missed during this COVID Zoom environment is actually clapping for people. So if my colleagues would, humor me, I would just love to clap for the basketball team and the gentlemen. There's just something about that. So really, thank you, Gems, and fantastic job to the basketball team. I know how much work it is, and so close. It's easy to focus on coming in second, but wow, what an achievement that is. So, and then, the other piece I wanted to just put out a thank you to the families who are having their young people vaccinated through our schools. I know it's disruptive to the kids' days, and they had to make quick decisions. So I just think that's important to acknowledge that those families and those young people are taking a step to help protect us all. And thanks for working with Nationwide Children's to put that together, and everybody at Central and Mr. Dorn working on logistics. So much appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Davidson.
It's so hard to go after that, right? So, I agree with my colleagues. I would just have one small addition, to the GEM winners and those that were nominated, as well as the nominators. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to see those shining stars out there and nominate them. And even if you didn't win, we couldn't do this without you, and we truly, truly appreciate you. So thank you, and congratulations to the boys basketball team. So that's it.
Thank you. Dr. Nestor Baker.
Jen, you mentioned missing applauding for people, and I have thought very often about this is the second handshaking season that we will not be shaking hands. I always view the Kiwanis Academic Varsity events as the kickoff of handshaking season, and I miss that. I miss having a sore hand at the end of all the recognitions that we do. I miss the swelling around my knuckles after graduations. I am really going to miss handshaking season again, but things are much better this year, and I'm so glad that we are able to move forward with a number of the senior recognitions and try to provide some of those important connections that go into end of year activities, especially as regards those for our seniors. So I'm glad that we have those. I still miss handshaking. Maybe I'll just grab my hand and make it hurt a little bit, just in honor of handshaking season at the end of this year. I also want to say thank you to all who were recognized tonight and all who participated in what went into those recognitions. With the boys basketball team, obviously our players, our coaches and staff, what wonderful experiences, what wonderful character, what a wonderful situation to find yourself in. And also to say thank you to all of the families of the young men and also of all of our staff who give up a great deal and provide so much support to make those sorts of wins happen. So thank you to them. And thank you to our GEM winners for your incredible, positive, thoughtful, compassionate approach to working with our children and young people and our staff as well. And as Tracy said, thank you to all who nominated them. It is a wonderful district full of superb people going far above and far beyond, to the point that I'm not sure lots of times I even know what not above and not beyond even looks like, because we don't see it very often here. And as I listened to all of Joe Beck's narration and saw the pictures, I was thinking about Knoxville as well, and the sadness that is there, and how that has happened too often, and is too horrific to consider. And as Rick said, my thoughts and prayers do certainly go out to those families who have been impacted by that. It's not something that will heal quickly, and it's something that will shape lives forever. I'm thankful for all the caring people in the world who will do what they can to ease the impact of trauma like that, just as I'm thankful for all the people here in this district who go forth every day to help our children and young people succeed.
Thank you, Dr. Nestor Baker. It's always very difficult to go last. So just quotation marks around everything that has already been said. Congratulations to our GEM winners. Thank you so very much for all of the hard work and support that our GEM winners have provided to our district, to our students and family. I would also echo our thoughts and prayers are with those families, those communities that have been affected in Tennessee, but also with the events that have transpired outside of Minneapolis on yesterday in Minnesota. We certainly pray for that community during this very difficult time, as well as our own. I saw on the news on the way, or heard on the news on the way to our meeting this evening, there was a situation at St. Anne's Hospital. So this is not something that just happens in communities elsewhere, but our own community has been affected. And so we certainly want to be mindful of those families. I certainly want to give a great big shout out to Warhawk Nation. Congratulations to the young men, the boys basketball team. Also, many thanks to Mr. Lanier and his staff, and Mr. Dorn, everyone that made the vaccinations possible in a partnership with Nationwide Children's Hospital. So thank you all very much. And with that, we will move on to agenda item 16. The board will meet in a virtual hybrid meeting on Monday, April the 26th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. at the Early Learning Center located at 936 East Wind Drive, Westerville, Ohio. Agenda item 17.01, adjournment. May I please have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Mr. Florida,
Yes.
Dr. Nexterbaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes, we are adjourned.
7:38.